So this next story hits very close to home, a little bit too close, and of course I'm talking about a person that has been diagnosed with the coronavirus attending the CPAC conference that happened a few days ago, a conference that I attended and reported on myself. Now, I remember hearing about the news of this and at first not thinking much of it, being like, it's fine, there's over 10,000 people there, nothing's going to come out of this. But then later that night, not being able to sleep and freaking out, thinking if I was sneezing because of allergies or if I had this virus. And of course, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of panicking, there's a lot of paranoia. We're going to move away from all of this and talk about the bigger takeaways that we have from this CPAC coronavirus story. And there's a lot to take away here. Now, Tim, what are some of the basic facts here that people need to understand about what just happened with CPAC?
Yeah, Luke. So one of the major people who was at CPAC was actually Ted Cruz, and Ted Cruz has put himself into a self-imposed quarantine. I believe we also have the chairman of CPAC was in direct contact with that individual as well. A lot of people were at the Shabbat dinner who were in contact with him. But reading from the article right now, we have last night, and this is Ted Cruz speaking, I was informed that 10 days ago at CPAC, I briefly interacted with an individual who is currently symptomatic and had tested positive for COVID-19, Cruz said in a statement Sunday. That interaction consisted of a brief conversation and a handshake. On Sunday, Arizona Republican Paul Gosar joined, which that hits close to home for me, joined Cruz by self-quarantining, and I am announcing that I, along with 3 of my staff members, are officially under self-quarantine after sustained contact at CPAC with a person who had been hospitalized since the Wuhan virus. So, Luke, you were going over how you weren't really that concerned because there was like 10,000 other people there, but now it's just the perception of other people being concerned, which is the bigger problem here. So that's why you go to the stores, you don't see toilet paper or hand sanitizer around anymore. So I'm not too worried about the coronavirus, but I'm more worried about people being worried about this. That then causes everybody else to worry, even people like me who aren't worrying. And that's way too many worries in one sentence, but.
Yeah, it's important to meditate. I definitely would recommend people download the Calm app and test out some of the free stuff that they have out there. But another important aspect here is that CPAC, this whole organization, has been very tight-lipped about all the details here, and it's only people whistleblowing that are able to get real information out there. And some of the information that we got out there was that this gentleman was there Friday, that he was also there for the Shabbat dinner, but he was also in the VIP room shaking hands with everyone, including the head guy of CPAC, Mr. Schlepp, who shook hands with this patient who has this person who has coronavirus, and then Schlepp later then shook the hands of people like Donald Trump, Ivanka Trump, Laura Trump, Kushner, and of course many other significant heads in the Republican Party. Mr. Cruz is also saying that he directly had contact with this person. This is why he's kind of staying away from here. And it's really another person who was there that I saw there, Rahim Kassam, that's really releasing a lot of the information about what people should look out for. But another thing that really is pointed here is that specifically he's releasing how difficult it is to be tested. A few moments ago, Matt Schlapp, the head of CPAC, tweeted, quote, "Tonight, we crossed an important threshold. CPAC ended 9 days ago. According to the experts, we consulted that timing with no new corona cases and no attendees with symptoms is a huge turning point. Over 10,000 in a hotel with the virus present. No one is positive." And then he gave the American flag and thumbs up emoji, which was greeted with a lot of criticism because there are individuals that are being sick and are finding it extremely difficult to be tested for the coronavirus, including Rahim Kassam, who, of course, has flu-like symptoms. He was just tested for the flu, and he was then allowed, after testing negatively for the flu, to be tested for the coronavirus after, of course, he detailed his just grueling process on talking about how he was following the protocols, calling the government, calling the Department of Health, calling the CDC, calling hospitals, and no one was giving him a direct answer, making it very difficult for him and many other individuals to be tested. So again, that tweet by Matt Schlepp was absolutely incorrect, since, of course, there's some people who do have symptoms, people that I've saw, people that were at the same kind of closed quarter events. So far, just for the record, my health is fine, but this also implicates how unprepared a lot of the government facilities here are to properly test people who are having the symptoms and can't get tested. And only Rahim Kassam got tested because he decided to show up at a hospital, which, again, to me is absolutely idiotic that people can't get a clear answer on the telephone who follow the proper procedure and have to show up to a hospital, possibly infecting other people. I still don't understand why we haven't implemented the South Korean method of a drive-through testing that allows people to be quarantined in their own car, not getting other people sick. I still don't understand why we're not doing that. There's also a lot of other regulations standing in the way of more tests being done, which, of course, in my opinion, Tim, the government is not prepared to handle. What's your take on that situation?
I mean, first off, I'm shocked. I mean, a situation the government's not prepared to handle. But I think another implication of this is, I mean, just think about, what this means for large public gatherings. I mean, basically, Donald Trump pretty much built his presidency off the backs of these massive, massive rallies. And now, I mean, what's going to happen to these rallies? I mean, not that I'm over here crying about not having big political rallies, but, I've got to imagine that can't be, a net positive for Donald Trump, if all of a sudden they have to postpone having rallies. I mean, what if they end up postponing the election? I mean, there's a lot of different places that this can take. And I am looking at the article right now, or the Twitter feed of Rahim Kassam, and he said that he's had to wait online for over 60 minutes from the CDC, and he was calling all these different places, and that they would send him from one hospital over to like some generic county number. And another thing that he was pointing out, and I'm trying to find it in the article, is that basically he's like, for everyone who wants to blame this on Donald Trump, I mean, he's in DC and he's calling people that are in DC, and yet, DC is obviously run by all. Oh, so here it goes. By the way, for everyone screaming Trump's fault at this, I am talking about the DC Department of Health. DC is a Democrat-run city. Try harder. And so I think that's a good, point to bring up, is that they're trying to pin everything on Donald Trump. And here they are in a Democrat-controlled city with all Democrats running everything in a managed healthcare system. And yet, we can't even get people in the nation's capital who are at a dinner with the president to even get them tested. And so it just... don't rely on the government for anything for answers. I mean, the best thing you need to do is to keep yourself, healthy, making sure you've got a good immune system, taking different vitamins. I am a financial advisor, but I'm not a doctor. So, go consult your own doctor. But I know a point that, Luke had brought up during when we're prepping this, and maybe he wants to get into this a little bit more, is he was talking about the fact that all the presidential candidates are over the age of 70. And those are the ones who are going to be most likely to be affected by anything that's going on with the coronavirus.
Yeah, and with major events being canceled, how is Donald Trump going to be able to hold his political rallies? How is Bernie Sanders able to hold his rallies? How is Biden going to be sniffing and smelling and touching inappropriately all these people? How will he do that? Well, we don't know. And of course, this will have a severe impact on not only on the elections, but the economy, and the reactions of people really matter here. So I'm staying calm. I'm, taking the basic procedures of not trying to be exposed to a lot of people. I'm doing the basic things that I recommend other people do. But again, one other thing to kind of remind people here is that CPAC extremely tight-lipped. It's only Rahim Kassam that was able to release some of the information. Other people are coming forward to releasing the information so we can actually know what's going on. Now, they're not releasing the name of this person who was there in the VIP room, who was one of the donors to CPAC that shook everyone's hand because people were afraid of being sued and violating health laws and all this other stuff. But the CDC, this is important to note here, won't test people unless they give the name of the patient that they were exposed to. So, I mean, that just shows you just another thing that has been difficult for Rahim Kassam to get through, because, again, even with him knowing the name, even with him calling all the government organizations like you're supposed to do, he's got no direct answers until he showed up to the hospital, which, again, puts in danger the people that you transport with, unless you have your own car and you're there by yourself, which very few people do. This, of course, implicates many, many different scenarios that people should be aware of. Tim, last final closing words on this?
Well, I mean, thank God we've got a potential tax cut out of this. I mean, I guess the only good thing that's coming out of the coronavirus is now we got cheap
Maybe
airfare, and we might
if
get a
we get
tax cut. But the Democrats are not keen on trying to have any payroll tax cuts. So I know we're trying to wrap this up, so we won't get too much more into that. But we also had Federal Reserve lowering rates, so the government's going to combat this by lowering interest rates to allow companies to get further into debt, and by taking Social Security and making it even less funded than it currently is, which is fine by me because I know I'm not going to get it, but I'm glad that we have the government at our back, Luke.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get into those topics plus a lot more. Definitely stay tuned on this independent media organization on this brand new spanking channel. Stay tuned for more here on Change the News. Help us figure out a better name in the description. Stay tuned for more. Love you guys.